Okay.
We missed you last week. Hashem fits.
No.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the Haftarah, prophecy about the splitting of the river when Moshiach will come. There's one detail which I didn't speak about, which is a topic which is Kaveh Bracha Lahatzmi, topic for itself. It says, the Pasuk describes over there how he'll split the river when Moshiach will come. And v'hidrich banu olam. The lashon of the pasuk is that will be a path like the Yidden had when they went out of Mitzrayim, and they'll walk through the path wearing shoes. Shoes, not roller skates, not. But they will wear shoes. Yeah.
Say not barefoot, that's not roller skate. I mean,
so what's pshat that they will walk with their shoes?
I know won't be roller skates. No one can reach the roller skates.
So how do you know that they? What's pshat of the pasuk? They'll go through their shoes. So the pashtus. Farshim explained that the idea is that that the ground will be dry, that it won't be muddy. You won't you'll be able to walk like you walk on regular dry earth, like we have by Dayenu, by Kriyas Yamsuf. Also, we say that that it would have been enough. David would have split the sea, even if it wouldn't have been completely dry. So over here the pasuk is simply trying to say it'll be completely dry. The question is, that's what the pasuk is trying to say. It's self-understood. The pasuk also continues, will be a path for the Yidden like it was when they left Mitzrayim, and it's self-understood that it'll be completely dry. Why is there the emphasis that they'll walk with their shoes? The truth is that we find this concept of shoes is discussed in a number of places in Kabbalah and Chassidus. We find a similar thing by Yitzias Mitzrayim. By Yitzias Mitzrayim, not by Kriyas Yamsuf, but by Yitzias Mitzrayim, which is connected to Kriyas Yamsuf. It says that when they didn't have to eat the korban Pesach, they had to eat it now lechem b'raglechem, not to be wearing their shoes on their feet. So it's also connected with their shoes. So the point.
Was ist nach lechem b'raglechem? Seien sie angetan, nicht mechubedik. Was
it means that they have to be ready for the road.
Ready to go.
Yeah, but it's also with them as Mefarshim reside in. You look in the Pirush HaTeisus Al HaTeira. There's now they have. That's now they have even more. Have a sefer called Teisus HaShalim. They collect from Kisveyad, Das Kanim. There's a few of them that were printed a while back, but then there's more things they printed recently. Zir writes the whole thing. The whole pasuk is a remes for the Gula Asida. So he writes there about eating the korban Pesach is a remes for eating Machal Sedrim. Well, interesting thing there. So he writes there, Nalechem b'raglechem, he brings the pasuk Hidrich banu olam. But anyway, so we find also over there connection with shoes. So Chassidus explains, it's a whole topic in Kabbalah and Chassidus. There's a pasuk that speaks about the Aliyah L'Regel. Even when up pasuk in Shir HaShirim, Chassidus speaks a lot about it. Pasuk that says, Mayafu pamayich b'no olam bas nodiv. Beautiful are your feet, wearing shoes, the daughter of Nadiv, Avram Avinu is called Nadiv. Nadiv means he, gave away from his money, from his keiches, he devoted himself selflessly to help other people to serve the Eibishter. So the Yidden are called the daughter of Avram Avinu, and the pasuk is describing how they're going up to the Beis Hamikdash. So there too is describing how beautiful are your steps wearing shoes. So there also, again, the question is, what's the emphasis on wearing shoes? So, to put it in simple terms, Shutas, Kabbalah, and Chassidus speaks about this in other terms, in deeper, in more spiritual ICS, more spiritual terms, but in practical terms, you have like this. What's the idea of a shoe? The Rebbe explains, in the simple meaning of the concept, the reason why a person has shoes is because, as a protection. When you're walking on the ground, it could be who knows what on the floor. It could be crawly, creepy snakes, scorpions, could be thorns, glass, I don't know, all things on the floor. You need to have protection. The shoes are usually made of a thicker type of substance than the other type of garments that you wear. The head, a hat, is usually not as thick as a shoe, and the other garments, unless you're wearing a bulletproof vest, whatever it is, it's usually not, they're more levushim dakim, they're more thinner, they're not such coarse garments. However, the shoe is the hardest, most coarse type of garment that a person wears because it needs to protect him from the elements that are on the ground with which he comes in direct contact only with his feet. Only your hands and your body needs protection from the elements, but they're not touching anything directly besides the feet when they're walking. So what is the deeper meaning of this? Chassidus explains that when there's two aspects here. Well, first I'll start with this with more the simpler aspect. When what part of a person comes into contact with the world. So when a person is standing upright, obviously you could touch, your hands and anything, but the bottom line is the part of the body that by default comes in contact with the ground is the feet. And in the feet itself, it's the heels. And what does that represent? That spiritually represents the part of the person that's involved in physical things. So we see also, if you look at a person's body, Chassidus explains at length that the higher limbs, the higher organs of a person's body are more refined and they have more higher qualities and more connection with the higher parts of the neshama, of the soul, more than the lower parts of the body. You have the head. The head has the highest parts. It has the brain, which is the nerve center of the whole body. It has intellect, the power of hearing, the power of sight, the power of smell, of speech. These are more of the much higher keiches of a person. You go further down, so you have the heart. The heart is the seat of emotions. You have the hands, which is the seat of action. So it's not as refined as the brain. The brain, we know, is an extremely sensitive type of material, type of tissue. Even the heart is not as sensitive as the brain. But the hands are even less sensitive. But nevertheless, Chassidus says the lowest part of a person are his feet. And his feet itself, it's the Ekev Sheberegel. The heels are technically, it's even called the famous Avos Rab Nosson that I think the Rebbe mentioned a number of times. The heels are called the Malach HaMavish Shabadim. It says that everything in the world is a miniature. It's a miniature part in the you can find everything in the microcosm, whatever the word is, in the person. So it says that there's this angel of death in the world. The angel of death in the person is his heel. What does it mean? It means the part of the body that has the least chayas, the least revealed quality of life is the heel. That's why, the Chassidus really says another reason for it, but that's why, it says the heel is the easiest thing to put into hot water. Simply because it's least sensitive. Chassidus says because it's more of a keli for drotzen, whatever, but it's not negay right now. So the heel.
Same reason.
So the heel is, so in other words, so the Eibusher set it up, the person, it's the lowest part of the person that comes in contact with the world, because how could what is a person, which is a medaber, the highest part of of creation, have to do with the earth? Everyone needs the earth. You need to plow the earth, you need to be able to eat, you need to grow tilt the soil, you need to be involved with the world. But how could a person have a shaykhus with the world? So the Eibusher already made it that it's only the lowest part of the person, the heel, that actually steps foot on the ground. But even there still has to be a separation. There still has to be that even the heel has to be, it's not enough that it's only the heel that touches the ground. It's even the heel has to be separated from the ground. Which that's the idea of a shoe, which it means in Avodah Sodom, what it means spiritually in the person's service of the Eibusher is that when a person is involved in the world, so when a person is learning in davening, he's involved in doing tzedakah, Torah, Avodah, Gemilos, Chesed, himself understood that he's not involved in the world, he doesn't need such a protection. But a person could say, when I'm involved in the world, part of my day, I'm involved in the world, I have to work, I have to eat, I have to sleep. So why do I need a special protection there? So he's saying no, that even at that point, he needed protection. What's the protection? So this is what Chassidus said, that Rebbe spoke about this many times, that a person's involvement in the world should only be with his hands, the work of your hand, not your mind, not your heart. there's a famous story that the Rebbe brings. A certain big chassid was, I think he was a Rav also, whatever, and he opened up a galoshin factory. You know what galoshin are? How do you say them in English? Robbers, yeah. So he was very involved intellectually, became very involved, faced how to, I don't know, how to get his product out there and whatever, and how to make more money, how to make it better. So Rebbe Rashab once told him that I saw feet in galoshin, but I haven't yet, I never saw a head in galoshin. I was trying to say, don't get caught up with it. So in other words, whatever, there's a chassid, Reb Chaim Moshe Alperovich. He used to always keep he was a balabas in his machshav. He always used to keep his mind to only think words of. I don't know. But it's known. So he used to be. I think he came to Eretz Yisrael before the war already. He used to work as a builder, schlepping heavy bricks and building. And once he was asked, why don't you become a chayes? They offered him maybe a job to work, on being a bookkeeper or something like that. So it was much easier for him. So he didn't want it. B'shum Reif, and he explained, when I'm schlepping, it's not a hard work, but I'm able to think what I want. I'm able to think chassidus. But if I'll be a bookkeeper, whatever, my thought is going to have to be involved in that's. It's another word, but it's known, it's Yedua. Chassidim said about him that he was a shomer in his machshava.
I'm saying, I think one of the babies said
it. So in other words, the idea here is that a person has to be involved in the world. Maybe she wants a person to be involved in the world, but it has to be in a way that he's separated. He's like, there has to be the idea of that he's involved in the world, but he realizes he's still different than all the nations around him, and he keeps his distance. This is the idea in Avodah what a shu means. That's what it means in Avodah. So another aspect of it here, which is obviously connected, but on a more refined and much more higher level, is that the idea of a shu is from one level to another level, even in Kedusha itself. You have in Kabbalah, you have different malachim that are called the shoes of the Shekhinah. You have Matatrin or Sandalfin, forget exactly the names over there, different levels, which worlds, but they're called the shoes of the Shekhinah. Means the shoes of the Shekhinah, because in order, when the Shekhinah is revealed from one world to the next, because the intensity of the Shekhinah in the higher world is too strong to be shine in the lower world, there has to be a separation. That separation, like at the bottom of the world, is like whatever, different. We call it a shoe sometimes, the separation. Like a type of tzimtzum, a type of blockage that the light doesn't shine with its full intensity. So you have Kabbalah and Chassidus discusses this. I forget exactly how it goes, but in Yom Kippur you're not allowed to wear shoes. Why not? Because in Yom Kippur, there the Malchus, the level of Shekhinah, the divine presence of the Eibusher goes up to its source. The whole idea why you have shoes is only when the Shekhinah is focusing downwards, going into the world. But when the Shekhinah is going up, you're not supposed to have shoes, because it's not where the place of the shoes is needed. It's discussed. The Kabbalah and Chassidus discusses a lot about this concept of shoes. You have by Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was by Har Sinai, by the burning bush, the Eibusher tells them, "Shan alachem al raglecha." Take off your shoes from your feet. Why? Because the place you're standing on is the Admas Kodesh, is the holy ground. We find similarly when the Kohanim were in the Beis HaMikdash, they're supposed to walk barefoot. It was mandatory. They had to walk barefoot. So why did they have to walk barefoot? Why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to take off his shoes? The idea is, what's the whole idea of his shoe? There should be a separation between the person and the world. They shouldn't get involved. But when you're in the Beis HaMikdash, you're in a holy place, you're by Har Sinai. On the contrary, you want the holiness of the place to be directly connected with your feet. You don't want there should be a separation. You want to absorb the holiness of the place. Why should you want to have shoes? So this is the idea of shoes. So getting back now to Love, so to the splitting of. There's one more word, actually, very geschmack word that Rebbe says. Rebbe spoke about this a number of times. It's very geschmack word. The Rebbe touched it in halacha. There's a famous halacha. It's brought in the first few I think the Siman Beis, the Siman Gimel of Shulchan Aruch, that a person should sell the beams of his roof of his house in order to buy shoes for his feet, highlighting how important shoes are. It's better, I guess, you should be, I don't know, homeless, if you should have shoes, something along those lines, maybe not exactly homeless, but interesting halach. What does it mean in the context of avoid of a person? So the Rebbe says, the idea of having beams on a person's, the idea of a roof, is a little similar to the concept of a yarmulke. Why do we have a yarmulke? The idea of having a yarmulke, a head covering, which you know from the Gemara helps us fear Hashem, is the idea that a person has to come to the recognition of something higher than his intellect, something above his head. Well, that itself, there's two levels. Chassidus explains. There's the makif of chaya, makif of yechida. There's the level that he recognizes is there's something above his head, but it's still something which is limited to the size of his head, like a yarmulke. Then there's something which is completely beyond him. It's not just that it's understanding of a level of godliness that's above him, but still somewhat limited to him, limited to his understanding, but it's totally beyond, you know, his any limits that he could put into it. So that's the idea of the beams of his house. The roof represents that understanding that there's something beyond me, a level of godliness which is completely beyond me. On the other hand, we still call it his house. We're not talking here about unlimited extension of wood over his head, because if so, it has no connection to him. It has to be his base side, that he understands that it has an effect on him. But anyway, so the Rebbe is like this. This is a very important avoid that a person should recognize how the Eibishter is totally beyond his understanding. But the beginning of a person's avoid is he has to start with shoes. It's better if he should first sell the beams in order to get shoes. Because what's the idea of shoes? Shoes is the initial recognition that you're separated from the world. It's like in the avoid of a person. How do you start off the day? You don't start off the day with saying Shema Yisrael. You start off the day with Moida Ani. How do you start educating a child? With small things, making a bracha. You don't start teaching him right away Shara Yichud V'Amunah, the deepest concepts of unity of Hashem. Because the first thing is you have to start with a basic recognition that you're separated from the world. Take shoes. Then you'll reach an understanding of godliness until you reach an understanding that the ultimate understanding which is demanded from a person. She realizes that godliness is totally higher than his intellect. But that's another step. Anyway, bringing all this back to the Haftarah of Achron Shal Pesach. So the Rebbe says like this. The Rebbe says, there's two things over here. First of all, the Rebbe asks the question, getting back to based on our whole discussion, what is the purpose of shoes when Moshiach will come? The whole idea of shoes that we explained until now is that there has to be a separation between the person and the world, because the things in the world are because the world is separate from Kedusha. So when Mashiach will come, the same way in the simple meaning of the concept of shoes is meant to protect a person from negative elements. When Mashiach will come, those negative elements won't be there. There won't be any snakes or scorpions. Same Haftarah, it says there won't be anything that you have to worry about lying on the ground that might harm you. There won't be anything negative spiritually either. The spirit of impurity will be removed from the ground. So why are we going to have to wear shoes then? So there's two ways of understanding this. The Rebbe also adds the whole world. You know, it's an interesting thing that Rebbe mentioned a number of times, just highlights it very strongly. We know that in times of the Beis HaMikdash, you're only allowed to mention Hashem's name the way it's written in the Beis HaMikdash. And even there, I think we were only the Kohen God, whatever it was. When Mashiach will come, it says, the Eibish's name will be pronounced the way it's written throughout the whole world, which means that the whole world basically will be on the same level, sort of as the Beis HaMikdash. So that underlines even more that the whole world will be so holy. What's the reason for shoes? So there's 2 points of it. One point is that the idea of going with the shoes is not, according to this explanation, the focus here is not that we need the shoes, but punktvarket. What is going to be the thing that's going to give us the capability? In other words, the reason that we're going to get these great revelations of Mashiach will come, which are expressed by the splitting of the river, is because now in the time of Golus, we wore shoes. Because we separated ourselves from the world. Furthermore, we refined the world. We know that wearing shoes is also connected. This is a famous concept in Kabbalah a lot, and this also mentions it. The idea of Kosnes Oir, when Adam Rishon, after his sin, the Eibusha gave him garments, Kosnes Oir, garments made out of skin, leather, whatever it was. So it's explained there, Oir, leather, skin, is written Ayin Vav Reish. It says that in the Meir's Torah, it said Kosnes Oir with an Aleph. Oir with an Aleph means light. The Adam Rishon before his sin, even his garments were radiating light. After his sin, so his garments were thick, coarse skin, which has to be refined. So the same way when a person makes a shoe, what does he do? He takes a thick piece of skin, he has to work it out. And once it's worked out, you transform something which was an animal skin to a useful tool for a person. The same thing that spiritually, the idea of the shoes when Moshiach comes means that in the merit of the fact that during the time of Galus we kept our distance from the world. And we elevated, we refined the world, not just we kept our distance, we refined the world. And that merit, the shoes that we'll have then will be, in other words, that's going to be the source of our schar. It's going to be the source of all these revelations will be because of the shoes. Then it won't be shoes. Then on the contrary, then it will be very illuminating articles that birurim that we refined now in the time of Galus will be illuminating in a much higher way. So, but it's all going to come from the avoid in the time of Galus that we had to do this avoid with shoes. That's one point here. Another point is very interesting. The Rebbe says, remember I mentioned before, there's the concept that the shoes are even in holiness itself, from one level to another level, there's a separation which is referred to as shoes. So Kabbalah Chassidus explains that when Mashiach will come, the world is going to be refined. The world will be a holy place. We'll be able to mention Hashem's name the way it's written everywhere. But the Jewish people themselves will be on a much, much greater level. So there was going to have to be a separation. The intensity of light that the Jewish people will have will be too strong for the world. So there's going to have to be shoes, not because we're going to need the shoes. The world will need the shoes. The world will need to have some type of separation from us. This is also expressed in the Maimer Chazal that when Mashiach will come, the Malachim will say Kaddish to the Jewish people. It also says they're going to ask the Yidden what the Eibishter said, what the Eibishter did. The Yidden will be even higher than the Malachim. So there's going to have to be a separation between us and the world at large. That's the second reason for shoes. There's one more point the Rebbe adds in another Maimer. The Rebbe explains that the idea
for the world, not for the Yidden, not for the Neshamas, for the world.
For the world, yeah. So in other words, the Gili of that, the Gili in the world will be very great, but the Gili by Yidden will be even much greater. So therefore, for the world is going to have to be the idea of now. The Rebbe said the same thing. All the nations of the world will be transformed to serve the Eibishter. But nevertheless, the pasuk still identifies them, even when Mashiach comes, as Zorim, as strangers. Vamdu Zorim v'rod Seinchem. Strangers will come and take care of your sheep. What does it mean, strangers? Talking here about people that are serving the Eibishter. All the world will serve the Eibishter, but compared to the Yidden, they're still going to remain something completely separate. There's one more word I want to finish off. The Rebbe explains in the Maimer, I think it's K'mei Chatov Shniyud Beis. The Rebbe explains that the whole thing of a Mashiach will come, will be the connection of Bligvul with Gvul, supernatural with nature, which I spoke a little bit about last time. So the Rebbe says that the Rebbe connects it with this pasuk, walking in shoes. The Rebbe says, what is the pasuk mentioning here about shoes? It's trying to say what's going to give the capability of the connection of Bligvul with Gvul, of the infinite light of the. It's a very profound concept of this. I don't have time to get into how nature itself. You'll see within nature itself will be a vessel for the godliness which is completely higher than nature, and the miracles that are hidden in nature will work hand in hand with the miracles. Nature will be a vessel for what's higher than nature. Now they don't work together. Either nature, either Nissim breaks nature, even those Nissim that are hidden in nature, but the nature itself hides the nace that's inside of it. Mashiach will come, the nace will be. The teva itself, nature itself will show the miracle that's in it. But anyway, the Rebbe says, how is that going to happen? Just the idea of splitting of the river, the Rebbe explains there how the miracle, the infinite light of Hashem will be expressed within the nature. What's going to give us the capability of doing that is the avodah b'zman hagalos of shoes. In which part, there's the idea that through us refining the world, which is the idea of shoes, what Chassidus calls avodah. You ever heard of oivdim? What's the idea of an ovid? Al Rebbe explains in Tanya, ovid elikim, someone that serves Hashem is called an ovid. What's the idea of an ovid? Ovid comes from ibud oidus. When you have to make, in a tannery, you have to make parchment, or if you ever see the process, you take something thick and grub and filthy and fatty, and you have to work it out into a proper thing that a man could use, which represents the avodah, refining the animal soul, which by a person refining his animal soul in the world, that will make that the world, the nature of the world, will be a vessel for what's higher than nature. So this is why when the pasuk is speaking about the great revelations, how there will be the splitting of the river, that the level of godliness that's unlimited will be revealed within nature. It says, how is that going to happen? Through the avodah of wearing of shoes, of refining the person's nature in the world. You should have it, take it from Yad Mamish. That's the main thing.